So hey everyone, in this video we are gonna get started with our edit and delete buttons for our notes. Okay, so in the last video we had just created these two buttons and this buttons does nothing, okay, apart from just viewing it on the page. All right, so we have this two buttons over here to edit and delete. So when I click on this edit, nothing happens since we haven't controlled this button, like where it has to go. Okay, so ideally what we would do here is we could wrap this button inside an anchor tag and then give it a reference to the particular route it has to go over there, right? So that is not ideal when it comes to React or Next.js in specific, because this is actually a single page application, and if I put in an anchor tag, which means that we are navigating to some other project directory, right? So that completely breaks the linking of our page. So in order to make this a single page application and not cause a re-render or a refresh to happen within our application, so there is a special tag, that a special component that we need to import from Next.js, that is link. Okay, so this is similar to the from the React router DOM library we used to import the use navigate hook, right? So then we used to navigate the user to that particular route when he or she clicks on that button, right? So that is similar to that. So let's import the link component. So that is coming from next/link. Okay, so once that's imported, we need to wrap this button over here of the edit button. So let's wrap that within the link tag, and we need to give this a href attribute. Okay, so where the user has to be navigated when the user clicks on this button. So let's provide the href attribute over there, and let's open our backticks, and this should go to the note edit page. Okay, so which we will be creating after linking this. So let's go to note slash and then the dynamic value of the id, okay, the note id, so that we are actually getting it from the with this note.id. okay, so note.id and then slash edit, like so, and let's close the link tag, and let's wrap the button inside that link. Okay, like so, and if we save this will auto format, and let's now go ahead and test this out if it is navigating us to the edit page. All right, so let's click on edit. Okay, so this page doesn't exist, but we do get navigated to note slash the id of the note and then edit. Okay, so now let's go ahead and create the edit page for editing this particular note, and make a server action to edit this note based on the title and the content that it has. So let's now go to the app directory and create a route over there, or a folder. Okay, so let's create a folder for edit. Okay, and within that we need the id of the node, right? So we are going to pass in a dynamic route for that. So let's create a file, a folder of :id, and over there let's create a page.tsx. okay, so we are going to get the id dynamically using the params that we receive as props, okay, within our component. So let's first sketch out our component, and let's name this as edit note. All right, and now we will be receiving the params. Okay, so probably I also need to rename this. Okay, so we of course know that this is a node, so we can just go to slash edit and then slash the id of the node. Okay, like so, and now let's go back to our page, and over there let's destructure params. Okay, and this will have a type of params, and within that we are going to receive the id, right? So the id which will actually be a string. Okay, so it's like this. Okay, alright, so that's done, and let's save this to auto format, and within this we are going to create our edit form. Okay, so this form is similar to the add note form. Okay, so we can just copy the contents from add and then paste it over here. Okay, so this one right here. So let's copy all of this and create a separate component, and I'll tell you why are we creating a separate component. Okay, so let's copy this and go to our components folder right here, and let's create a file over there. Let's call it edit note. Okay, so edit note dot tsx. Okay, so actually I had to name this tsx, by mistake I named it jsx. Okay, so never mind, this is just a static component or a pure component which is not receiving any kind of props or anything, so I'll just edit that later. And now let's focus on this by creating a component, and this is called edit note, and this will receive note. Okay, so the note will be sent as props. Okay, so I'll just tell you why are we doing this. Because this is a completely, we want to make this a server component, and we want to make this component a client component, since we'll be having interactivity once we like click on buttons, right? So this is a completely static page, so we do not want to make this also as a client component. And remember, in Next.js we need to keep things as much as many components as server components, and only mark those components as client components if they have interactivity, I mean. Okay, so now let's import that edit note form over here. So import edit note. Okay, so that is coming from component slash edit note. Okay, and what is this? Okay, we haven't used this yet, and now we can go ahead and return this and pass in our note. Okay, so to fetch the note we need to make a call to our database. Okay, so let's now make this component asynchronous. Okay, so remember, we are repeating ourselves again, so if you want you can just go ahead and try this yourself. Okay, so we are going to make a database action. So first we need to call the connect db function. Okay, so this is a step one. Okay, so you can just follow this in the form of steps if you want to like remember it easily. So connect to db, so this is a function which we need to call like this, and we are now going to import the note module. Okay, so first of all we can just auto import that. Okay, so let's create a variable to store the note, and we can now call the note model like this. Let's auto import and find by id. Okay, so this id is coming from the params. Okay, so that we destructured, so find by id like this, and now we are going to pass in the id. Okay, so that we the params dot id. Okay, like so, and we have the note right now, so we are now going to return the edit note component, and then this is a self-closing component, and we can just pass in the note as props. Okay, like so. Okay, so this is a type of any. So since we are not passed in anything to this component, so that's why TypeScript is complaining. So now let's go ahead and build this. So I told you, right, we can just go to the add page, and we can just copy the contents from there and paste it to our edit page. Okay, so the component is almost similar. Okay, so let's, if you want you can create a separate component and then import this to edit as well as add page in order to reduce the amount of code. So I'm just gonna stick with this without any problem. Okay, so for this we are going to create an action over here at the top, and first let's make a call to our database. So now we can destructure the props that we are receiving, that is note, and give this a type of note edit props. Okay, so we are now going to create this with an interface called note edit props, and here this will expect 3 parameters, that is the id, the title, and the content. Okay, so let's specify all of them as strings. The title, and then finally the content. Right, so our types are now being defined, and now we just need to create the initial values. Okay, so our form should be auto filled with those values. Okay, so now let's create two states in order to store the values of the node that we are receiving, and then auto populate all these input fields. Okay, so since we are using hooks, I told you that we need to make this component a client component. Okay, and the server component that we have already created, this will remain server. Okay, so as I told you, you need to always segregate components within a server and client components wherever needed. Okay, so let's go at the top and make this a a client component. Okay, and now we can go ahead and grab the note and store it in our state. So let's call this title, set title, and the initial value will be from this note. Okay, so we can call the use state and we can auto import that, and this will be note dot title. Okay, and let's duplicate the same for the content. Okay, so let's call this content. So node dot content. Alright, so that's done, and now let's what shall we do? So now we need to make a server action to our backend to edit the node. Okay, so in our previous videos we have already created a server action for our ad page within the file itself. Okay, right over here. Okay, to store the instance of node into our database, but now we are going to modify this slightly different. So we are going to create a separate file just for the server actions. Okay, and we are going to shift all of this over there into that file, so that we have interest of segregation or separation between our application code and our business logic. And okay, so that is the reason we are going to do this. So let's create a folder right outside this app directory within our source called as actions. Okay, and within the actions we are going to create a file called actions.ts. Okay, so over here we are going to define all of our server actions. So let's create one for the edit. Okay, so what is the first step to create a server action? So we need to mark that as use server, right? So use server. Okay, and so the second step is to create a function to make the server action. Okay, so let's we also need to export that. So we need to call this export export const function, and this is going to be to edit the node. Okay, and later we are going to shift all of the server actions that we created like for the add or to get and into this file. Okay, so edit node, and this will be a function that receives the id, which will be a string, and then the title also a string, and finally the content, which is also a string. Okay, so string. Okay, so within the body of a function we are this is the third step, that we are going to make a call to the database, await connect to db. Okay, so now we are going to first of all get the note itself from the database. Okay, so for that we are going to create a function create a variable called note, and this is going to be equal to await note, which are going to auto import dot find by id. Okay, so we are going to find based on the id. Okay, so this is id. Okay, so we need to so this will be like a buffer. Okay, so we need to convert that to a string by using this method. Okay, so once we find the note, we need to update that. Okay, so first we can create that so this note dot title. So we are going to set that to this title that we are receiving, and then the same for the content, and which is equal to content, and then finally we are going to save the instance. Okay, so await node dot save. Okay, so we are finally done, and let's finally redirect the user back to the home screen. Okay, so we have a special method from Next.js called redirect. Okay, so this is like use navigate hook, just like you were using in plain React, right? So let's import the redirect function from next redirect. So that is coming from okay, we are not getting the suggestions for some reason, so that is coming from next/navigation. Okay, so there is also something called as next/link. Okay, so that we usually import the link. Okay, so that's not from there, so it is from next/navigation. Sorry, it's not link, so it was router previously. Okay, so that will not work anymore, so we just need to use the next/navigation, and then let's redirect the user to the home route. Okay, so export const function So this should be async function, sorry, okay, not const function. And yeah, so everything's good. So now we can go ahead and test this. So now let's go to our edit page over there within the app, so within our edit note, and make a server action to that file. Okay, so we need to import that. Okay, so let's first of all import that. Okay, so we are going to import everything that we have, all of whatever the server actions that we have. Okay, so we can import star, and we can mark this as actions. So that is coming from at the rate that is actions slash actions. Okay, so probably we could have named this as index.ts, so that we don't have another layer of digging. So let's rename this to index.ts. all right, so let's now go back to our edit node and make our server actions. Okay, so we have imported all the actions over there, and now we can create a function. So async function, so we can just call this edit note handler, and this will receive the event parameter. Okay, so and this will be of type okay, so actually we haven't attached this yet. So the action that will be made is to this edit note handler once we submit the form. Okay, so let's call that over here, and when you hover on this you might get some information. Okay, so for some reason we don't get it. So this is basically react.form event. Okay, so sometimes you get the type of this, okay, when you actually attach the handler to it, and otherwise you have to like find out what is that actually. And let's open our body of a function and then make our call to our server action. Okay, so first we need to prevent the default behavior of our browser. So e.prevent default, and then we are going to call the actions dot edit node. Okay, so that function that we just created. Okay, and also we need to await on this. We do not need to await on this since we are already handling there in that file, and we are now going to pass in the note id. Okay, so I remember it expects three parameters: the id, title, and the content. So let's pass in one by one. The node dot underscore id, and then the title, and then finally the content. Actually it's just the title and not the content. Okay, so it's that's the state that we are creating. Okay, so my bad. And then the content. Okay, so this should be title. Okay, and also we are not handling the inputs. Okay, so the state over here. Okay, so let's put an on change handler and give it a value. First let's give the value of title and on change. So that will take in the event parameter, and we are going to set the title to e.target.value, if you remember from React. Okay, so nothing new. So let's duplicate this to the content as well. Let's change this to content, and also the set content. Alright, so that's done. Everything looks good, and there's a problem over here. So this should be on submit and not action, since we are not making a server action. On submit. Okay, and let's change this to edit note like so. And yeah, so is there any error? Okay, so we haven't defined the type for this yet. Okay, so that's why it's complaining. So there's definitely some conflict. So since we have a destructured node, so this has to come inside another object of node. Okay, so sorry guys, I'm making a lot of mistakes today. So this has to be inside another object like so, and now we should be all good. Okay, so yeah, so everything looks good. So now we can just go and test it out. Okay, so we have one final error over here. This is again there's some mismatch within the types. Okay, so I just realized that I have named these two components the same, that is edit note. Okay, so we can just change this to like edit note form. Okay, so I'm just realizing now. So while explaining I didn't even realize. And let's also change the name of this. Okay, so this is called edit note form. Okay, so now we are free from errors, so now it's the time to test everything out. So now when we click on edit, it should take us to the edit form. Okay, so yeah, there we go. So this is similar to the add note form. Okay, so we just name this to edit, and we have all the values pre-populated. Okay, so this is the test title, and then this is the description, and also I forgot to change the button text. Okay, so this should be edit note, and let's call this test title 2, and let's change the description to description 2. Okay, just for testing, and this should be edit note. Anyways, let's click on that, and yeah, there we go. So we are finally made this edit action work. Okay, so when we again click on edit, we see those values again over there itself. Okay, so we can also type in anything of your choice. Okay, so this values will be persisted in our database, and those will show up over here. Okay, so you see that so everything is working nice and fine. Okay, so now let's move on to the uh, delete functionality. Okay, so there is one difficulty that we are going to face when it comes to this delete. Okay, so I'll just tell you what the next video. Okay, so since this is I'll just give you a small hint that since this is a completely server component, and we are going to have an interactivity, and we are not navigating the user to any other page. All right, so in order to just make this but particular button work and make it interactable, we cannot make the entire page client component, right? So that will be most of the Next.js features are like there itself gone, so there is nothing difference between React and using Next.js. So we need to come up with a solution for this, and we are gonna see to this in the next video. Okay, so if you like the video so far, so please show some support to this channel and the video, and just share this with your friends and make this content and this course much more engaged. Okay, so I'll see you guys in the next video. Till then, bye bye.